My niece whispered, "My mom tells me to say you're a bad person." And then she gave me an audio recording. Hi everyone! Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. Rain drummed against the kitchen window in a steady rhythm, the kind of November rain that felt less like weather and more like a mood. I stood at the counter, measuring coffee grounds with the precision of ritual, watching water droplets race each other down the glass. My niece, Sophie, sat at the kitchen table behind me, her small legs swinging beneath the chair. She'd been quiet since her mother dropped her off 2 hours ago. Too quiet. "Hot chocolate?" I asked, turning to face her. She nodded without looking up from the coloring book spread in front of her. Her crayon purple, her favorite, hovered over the page but didn't move. Something was wrong. I'd known Sophie since the day she was born. 8 years of birthday parties and scraped knees and bedtime stories. 8 years of watching her personality bloom bright and curious and full of questions about everything. She talked constantly, a stream of consciousness that jumped from dinosaurs to why the sky was blue to whether unicorns could swim. But today, she was silent. "Sophie?" I set 2 mugs on the table and sat down across from her. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" Still not looking at me. I watched her color-harsh, angry strokes that tore at the paper. This wasn't like her. Sophie colored the way most kids breathed, naturally, joyfully, without thinking. "Did something happen at school?" "No." "Did you and your mom have a fight?" Her hand stopped. The crayon pressed so hard against the page that the paper buckled slightly. "No," she whispered. I wanted to push, wanted to wrap my arms around her and demand to know what was hurting her. But you don't push children. You wait. You create space for them to fill with truth. So I drank my coffee and pretended to be interested in my phone while Sophie continued her violent coloring. Outside, the rain intensified. The house creaked in that familiar way old houses do, like it was settling in for the storm. My sister, Rebecca, and I had grown up in a house not unlike this one. 2 girls in adjacent bedrooms, whispering through walls at night, sharing clothes and secrets and dreams. She was 2 years younger, and I'd always felt protective of her, the big sister who fought her battles, who let her copy my homework, who took the blame when she broke Mom's favorite vase. We'd been close once. Before she got married, before Sophie was born, before my life stayed stubbornly singular, while hers expanded into the territory I was supposed to occupy. Husband, house, children. "You wouldn't understand," she'd said to me more than once in recent years. "You don't have kids." As if my childlessness, a wound I rarely acknowledged, even to myself, disqualified me from having opinions about family, about life, about anything that mattered. Still, I tried. I showed up for Sophie's birthday parties with elaborate gifts. I babysat whenever Rebecca needed a break. I listened to stories about tantrums and potty training and preschool drama with genuine interest, swallowing the small dart of pain each story carried. Because Sophie was the closest thing I had to a daughter, and because somewhere beneath the distance and the subtle barbs, Rebecca was still my sister. Or so I'd thought. "Aunt Claire?" Sophie's voice pulled me back. She was looking at me now, her dark eyes. Rebecca's eyes filled with something that looked like fear. "Yes, honey?" She glanced toward the hallway, as if checking to make sure we were alone. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible over the rain. "My mom says you're a bad person." The words hit like a fist to the stomach. I set down my coffee carefully, willing my hand not to shake. "What?" "She says you're bad, that you pretend to be nice but you're not really." Sophie's voice trembled. "She says you want to take me away from her." The kitchen suddenly felt too cold, too quiet despite the rain. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. "Sophie, sweetheart, why would your mom say that?" She looked down at her coloring book. A tear dropped onto the purple princess she'd been working on, smudging the crayon. "I don't know, but she makes me practice." "Practice?" "Practice what to say, how to act." Another tear fell. "She says if I don't do it right, bad things will happen." My hands had gone numb. "What kind of things does she make you practice?" Sophie was crying openly now, her small shoulders shaking. "That you yell at me, that you say mean things, that I'm scared to be alone with you." The world tilted. For a moment, I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what I was hearing. This was Rebecca, my sister, the girl I'd protected my entire childhood, the woman I'd helped through her divorce, through postpartum depression, through every crisis she'd ever faced, and she was teaching her daughter to lie about me. "Sophie!" I moved around the table, kneeling beside her chair. "Look at me, honey. Have I ever yelled at you? Ever been mean to you?" She shook her head violently. "No, never. You're nice. You're my favorite." The words came out in a wail. "But Mom says I have to say those things or else—" She stopped, her eyes going wide with panic, like she'd said too much. "Or else what?" "I can't tell you. I promised." "Sophie! She'll know. She always knows." Sophie was hyperventilating now, her breath coming in short gasps. "She checks my phone. She asks me questions. She'll know I told you." I pulled her into my arms, feeling her small body shake against me. My mind was racing. This wasn't just sisterly jealousy or casual manipulation. This was calculated, methodical. This was parental alienation. "It's okay," I murmured into her hair. "You're safe here, I promise." We sat like that for a long time, Sophie crying into my shoulder while I stared at the rain-streaked window and tried to make sense of the impossible. Eventually, her sobs quieted into hiccups. She pulled back, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. "Aunt Claire?" Her voice was small. "I did something." "What did you do, sweetheart?" She reached into her jacket pocket, the purple jacket with the unicorn patch that I'd bought her for her birthday, and pulled out a small phone. Not a smartphone. One of those cheap flip phones parents give young kids for emergencies. "I recorded her," Sophie whispered. "Last night. She didn't know. I wanted you to know I wasn't lying." She held the phone out to me with trembling hands. I stared at it. This small device that contained... what? Proof? Evidence of my sister's betrayal? A recording that would shatter whatever remained of our relationship? "Are you sure you want me to hear this?" I asked. Sophie nodded. "You need to know the truth, even if..." Her voice cracked. "Even if it makes everything worse." I took the phone. It was warm from being in her pocket. My finger hovered over the play button. "Go wash your face," I said gently. "There are clean towels in the bathroom. Take your time." Sophie nodded and disappeared down the hallway. I heard the bathroom door close, the water running. I pressed play. Static crackled for a moment. Then Rebecca's voice filled the kitchen, clear and cold and utterly recognizable. "Okay, Sophie, let's try it again. What do you say if someone asks if you like staying with Aunt Claire?" I say it's okay, but she makes me uncomfortable. Sophie's voice on the recording was flat, rehearsed. "Good? And if they ask why?" "Because she asks me weird questions about Mom and Dad, and she says bad things about Mom." "Perfect! And what about the yelling? What do you say about that?" A pause. "Do I have to say she yells?" "She doesn't yell, Mom." Rebecca's voice sharpened. "Sophie, we've talked about this. Aunt Claire is trying to turn you against me. She's jealous because she doesn't have her own family. She wants to take you away." "But she doesn't." "Listen to me." The coldness in Rebecca's tone made me flinch. "I know this is confusing, but sometimes adults lie. Sometimes they pretend to be nice when they're not. And Aunt Claire, she's not who you think she is. But Mom, no buts. When the lawyer asks, and he will ask, you need to tell him exactly what we practiced, that she makes you feel uncomfortable, that she says things about me that aren't true, that you'd rather not spend time with her anymore. My hand was shaking so badly, I almost dropped the phone. Can you do that for me, baby? Can you help Mommy? A long silence. Then, so quietly I almost missed it. Okay. Good girl. Now, one more time, from the top. What do you say if someone asks if you like staying with Aunt Claire? The recording continued. 10 minutes of coaching, of rehearsing lies, of my sister systematically destroying my relationship with Sophie, poisoning it with false accusations and manufactured fear. And underneath it all, the unspoken threat. Do this, or lose me. Lie, or be abandoned. I pressed stop. My hands were shaking, my vision blurred. The coffee had gone cold. The rain continued its relentless drumming, and I sat in my kitchen, listening to the sound of my own breathing, trying to comprehend what I'd just heard. This was Rebecca, my little sister, the girl I'd shared a bedroom with. The woman I'd held when she cried over her divorce. The mother I'd babysat for countless times, never asking for payment, just wanting to help, and she was trying to erase me from Sophie's life. But why? The question echoed in my mind as Sophie returned from the bathroom, her face clean but eyes still red. Did you listen? She asked quietly. I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. Are you mad at me? What? No. I pulled her close again. Sophie, no, I'm not mad at you. I could never be mad at you. You were so brave to record that, so brave to show me. What are you going to do? That was the question, wasn't it? I could report this, take the recording to a lawyer, start a custody battle, expose Rebecca's manipulation. Sophie's words on that recording, she doesn't yell, she doesn't do those things, combined with Rebecca's coaching could be damning evidence of parental alienation. But at what cost? Sophie would be caught in the middle of a war between her mother and her aunt. She'd be questioned, evaluated, forced to testify. The recording she'd made this act of desperate honesty would become Exhibit A in a courtroom battle. And Rebecca would never forgive me. Our relationship, already strained, would shatter completely. And she was still Sophie's mother. Whatever else she'd done, she loved Sophie. I believed that. Or did she? Could you love someone and still teach them to lie? To fear? To doubt their own perception of reality? Aunt Claire? Sophie's voice was small. Are you going to tell my mom I told you? I looked down at her, this beautiful, brave, confused little girl who just wanted the adults in her life to stop hurting each other. No, I said quietly. I'm not going to tell her. Relief flooded Sophie's face. Really? Really. But Sophie, I need you to understand something. I cupped her face in my hands. Nothing your mom said about me is true. I'm not trying to take you away. I'm not saying bad things about her. I love you, and I love your mom, even when she does things that hurt me. Do you understand? Sophie nodded. I know you're not bad. I always knew. Then why did you do what she asked? Why did you practice those things? Her eyes filled with tears again. Because she's my mom, and she seemed so scared. She kept saying you were going to take me away, and I got scared too. I didn't want to leave her, but I didn't want to lose you either. Her voice broke. Why is she doing this? I don't know, sweetheart. I honestly don't know. But that wasn't entirely true. As I held Sophie, as the rain continued to fall, pieces began clicking into place. Rebecca's comments over the past year. The way she'd grown increasingly distant. The subtle accusations that I judged her parenting, that I thought I could do better, that I was overstepping boundaries. You're so good with her, she'd said last Christmas, watching me help Sophie build a gingerbread house. Must be nice not to deal with the tantrums and the homework battles. You just get the fun parts. The words had stung, but I'd brushed them off. Now I heard them differently. Jealousy, resentment, fear. Not fear of me taking Sophie physically, but fear of losing her emotionally. Fear that Sophie loved her aunt more than her mother. Fear that in comparison to my life-stable, peaceful, undivided Rebecca's chaos looked less appealing. So she decided to make me the villain, to manufacture a threat that would justify pushing me away, to eliminate the competition before it became real. Except Sophie had seen through it, and now I held proof of Rebecca's manipulation in my hands. What was I going to do? The weekend passed in a strange fog. I took Sophie to the park despite the rain. We baked cookies, we watched movies, and played board games, and I pretended everything was normal while my mind spun in circles. Sunday evening, Rebecca came to pick Sophie up. She stood in my doorway looking tired, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes. "How was she?" Rebecca asked. "Good. We had fun." My voice sounded normal, amazing. "Thanks for watching her. I know it's not always convenient." There was an edge to her words, an implication. You don't have kids, you don't understand how inconvenient they can be. I wanted to scream, to play the recording right there in the doorway, to watch her face crumble as her daughter's betrayal, no, her own betrayal echoed in the air between us. Instead, I smiled. Never an inconvenience. You know I love spending time with Sophie. Rebecca's expression flickered. Was that guilt? Suspicion? I couldn't tell anymore. "Come on, Soph, time to go." Sophie appeared behind me, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She looked at her mother, then at me. I could see the fear in her eyes, the question. "Are you going to tell?" I gave her a small nod. "I'm not going to tell." She hugged me tightly. "Bye, Aunt Claire. Thank you for the cookies." "Any time, sweetheart." "Any time." I watched them walk to the car, watched Rebecca drive away into the gray evening. Then I closed the door and leaned against it, finally allowing the tears I'd been holding back all weekend to fall. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, Sophie's phone on my nightstand. The recording was still on it. The evidence. The truth. By dawn, I'd made my decision. I called Rebecca's number. She answered on the third ring. "Claire, it's early. What's wrong?" "We need to talk." "About what?" "About us. About Sophie. About what's really going on." I paused. "I'm coming over. We're going to have this conversation face to face." Silence. Then, carefully, "I don't think that's a good idea." "I don't care if it's a good idea. I'll be there in an hour." I hung up before she could respond. Rebecca lived 20 minutes away in a neighborhood that had once felt familiar. I'd helped her move into this house after her divorce. Had painted Sophie's bedroom a soft lavender. Had hung curtains and assembled furniture and promised her things would get better. Now, pulling into her driveway, it felt like enemy territory. She opened the door before I could knock. She wasn't dressed still in pajamas, no makeup, her face bare and vulnerable in the morning light. "Where's Sophie?" I asked. "School." "Good." I walked past her into the house. The living room was cluttered toys scattered across the floor, dishes stacked on the coffee table. This was the chaos I didn't have to deal with. The reality behind the carefully curated photos Rebecca posted on social media. "Claire, what's this about?" I turned to face her. My sister. The girl I'd grown up with. The woman I barely recognized anymore. "Sophie told me what you've been doing." Rebecca's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" Don't lie to me. Not anymore." My voice was steady, but inside I was shaking. "She told me about the rehearsals, about what you're teaching her to say." "I don't know what—" And she gave me this. I pulled out the phone. Rebecca's eyes locked onto it like it was a weapon. That's Sophie's emergency phone." "I know, with a very interesting recording on it." The color drained completely from Rebecca's face. "You can't. That's illegal. Recording someone without consent is exactly what your 8-year-old daughter did because she was so desperate for someone to know the truth." I stepped closer. "What the hell are you doing, Rebecca? Why are you teaching Sophie to lie about me? I'm not. I heard it. I heard you coaching her, telling her to say I make her uncomfortable, that I yell at her, that I say bad things about you. My voice cracked. None of that is true, and you know it. Rebecca's face crumpled. She sank onto the couch, her head in her hands. You don't understand, she whispered. Then explain it to me. Silence stretched between us. Outside, I could hear a dog barking, a car driving past. Normal suburban sounds in a moment that felt anything but normal. I'm losing her, Rebecca finally said. I'm losing Sophie. What are you talking about? She loves you more than she loves me. The words came out broken, raw. Every time she comes home from your house, all she talks about is Aunt Claire this, Aunt Claire that. How you let her stay up late. How you make the best pancakes. How you actually listen when she talks. Rebecca looked up, her eyes red. Do you know what that's like? To feel like you're being replaced by your own sister? I'm not trying to replace you. Aren't you? Rebecca's voice turned sharp. You show up with perfect gifts and unlimited patience because you only have to deal with her for a few hours. You don't do the hard parts, the homework battles, and the bedtime negotiations, and the constant, exhausting work of actually raising a child. You just get to be the fun aunt who swoops in and out whenever it's convenient. Is that what you think I'm doing? That's what you are doing. She stood up, anger replacing sadness. You don't have kids, Claire. You don't get to judge how I parent. You don't get to be the hero while I'm the one doing the actual work. So you decided to turn Sophie against me? To teach her to lie? To make her afraid of the one stable adult in her life besides you? I was trying to protect her. From what? From me loving her? Yes! The word exploded out of Rebecca. Because what happens when you get bored? When the novelty wears off? When you find some other shiny thing to focus on? Sophie will be devastated, and I'll be the one left picking up the pieces, like always. The accusation hung in the air, like always. As if I was the one who'd left, as if I was the one who'd pulled away. I have never abandoned you, I said quietly. Never, not once. Not when Mom died. Not when you got divorced. Not when you fell apart after Sophie was born. I've been there for every crisis, every breakdown, every impossible moment. And I've been there for Sophie because I love her, not to replace you, not to prove anything, just because she's my niece and I care about her. Then why does she like you better? The question was childish, petulant, the kind of thing one sibling says to another in childhood, not in adulthood. Not as parents, but it was honest. She doesn't like me better, Rebecca. She feels safe with me. Probably because I'm not teaching her to lie. Rebecca flinched like I'd slapped her. I know what I did was wrong, she said softly. I know it. But I was so scared of losing her, of not being enough. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. You have everything together, Claire. Your career, your house, your life. And I'm barely holding on. I can't compete with that. I'm not asking you to compete. I felt my own tears building. I'm asking you to let me be part of Sophie's life without sabotaging it. I'm asking you to trust that there's room for both of us to love her. But what if there's not? What if loving you means she stops loving me? That's not how love works. You know that. Do I? Rebecca's voice was barely a whisper. Our whole childhood, it felt like love was finite, like Mom only had so much to give, and you got most of it because you were the good daughter, the smart one, the one who had it all figured out. The words hit like a punch. Is that really what you think? It's what I know. And now history's repeating itself. Sophie's going to choose you, just like Mom did, and I'm going to be alone. I sat down heavily on the arm of the couch. All this time, I'd thought Rebecca and I were close, that we'd survived our childhood together, allied against the world. But she'd been carrying this resentment for years, decades, and I'd never seen it. Mom didn't choose me, I said finally. She was hard on me because I was older. She expected more. And I spent my whole childhood trying to protect you from her expectations. I looked at Rebecca. I thought I was being a good sister, but apparently all you saw was favoritism. Because that's what it was. Maybe. I don't know. I can't change the past, Rebecca. But I can tell you this. I'm not Mom, and Sophie isn't you. She loves you. She's terrified of disappointing you. That recording you're so worried about? She cried through most of it because she didn't want to lie, but she was afraid of what would happen if she didn't. Rebecca closed her eyes. Fresh tears leaked from the corners. What are you going to do with the recording? She asked. And there it was. The question that had kept me up all night. The choice that would define not just our relationship, but Sophie's childhood. I could destroy Rebecca with this recording, use it in court, prove parental alienation, maybe even get partial custody or mandated visitation rights. But what would that do to Sophie, to Rebecca, to our family? I'm going to delete it, I said. Rebecca's eyes flew open. What? I'm going to delete it, right now, in front of you. I pulled up the recording on the phone. My finger hovered over the delete button. But first, you need to hear me. Really hear me. I looked at my sister, this broken, jealous, frightened woman, who was still, somehow, the girl I'd shared a bedroom with. What you did was unforgivable. You tried to poison your daughter against me. You coached her to lie. You used her fear and love as weapons. And if you ever do anything like that again, I will not be this merciful. I will take every legal action available to protect Sophie from your manipulation. Rebecca nodded, tears streaming down her face. But, I continued, I also understand that you're struggling, that you're scared, that somewhere in all this mess is a sister who's drowning and didn't know how to ask for help without pushing everyone away. I'm sorry, Rebecca whispered. I'm so sorry. I know, but sorry isn't enough. If we're going to fix this, if we're going to coexist in Sophie's life, things need to change. Real changes. You need to see a therapist. You need to work on this jealousy, this fear, and you need to let me love Sophie without treating it as a threat. What if I can't? What if I'm too broken? Then you get help until you can, because Sophie deserves better than a mother who's so consumed by her own insecurity that she'll weaponize her daughter's love. I pressed delete. The recording disappeared. There, it's gone. I set the phone on the coffee table between us. No evidence, no proof, just two sisters who need to figure out how to be family again. Rebecca stared at the phone, then at me. Why? Because you're my sister, because Sophie needs both of us, and because... I paused, feeling the weight of words I'd never spoken aloud. Because I'm tired of being strong all the time, of having it all figured out. The truth is, I'm lonely. I'm childless and single, and sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night wondering if I made the wrong choices. And Sophie, she makes me feel less alone. She makes me feel like I matter. You do matter. So do you. We both matter. And maybe if we stop competing, if we stop keeping score, we can both be what Sophie needs. Rebecca was crying harder now. Ugly, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. I moved to sit beside her on the couch, and she collapsed against me the way she used to when we were kids, and the world felt too big. I don't know how to fix this, she said into my shoulder. One day at a time, one honest conversation at a time, starting with this one. We sat like that for a long time. Two sisters, broken and imperfect, trying to find their way back to each other. Eventually, Rebecca pulled away, wiping her face with her sleeve. Does Sophie know you're here? No. She's going to be scared when she finds out you know about the recording. Then we tell her together. We tell her that we talked, that we're working on it, that she doesn't have to keep secrets or choose sides. Will you come to dinner tonight, when Sophie gets home from school, so we can talk to her together? I hesitated. It was too soon, too raw. But looking at Rebecca's hopeful, terrified face, I knew that saying no would set us back to square one. Okay, I'll come to dinner. That evening, I sat at Rebecca's kitchen table while she made spaghetti Sophie's favorite. We'd agreed on what to say, how to explain things in a way that wouldn't traumatize an 8-year-old. When Sophie came home, she froze in the doorway. "Aunt Claire? What are you doing here?" "Your mom invited me for dinner. Come sit down, sweetheart. We need to talk." Sophie's eyes darted between us, calculating, trying to figure out if she was in trouble. "You're not in trouble," I said gently. "We just want to talk, all three of us." We sat around the table, Rebecca and me on one side, Sophie across from us, looking small and scared. "Sophie," Rebecca began, her voice shaking slightly. "Aunt Claire told me about the recording." Sophie's face went white. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "Shh, it's okay." I reached across the table, taking her hand. "You're not in trouble. You were trying to help. You were trying to tell the truth. That took a lot of courage. But I broke my promise. I told." "And I'm glad you did," Rebecca said. Sophie's head snapped toward her mother in surprise. Because what I was asking you to do wasn't fair. It wasn't right. And I'm sorry." Tears welled in Sophie's eyes. "You're sorry?" "Very sorry. I was scared and confused, and I made you scared and confused too. But that stops now. Aunt Claire and I talked, and we're going to do better. We're going to work together instead of against each other. So, I don't have to lie anymore? No more lies. From any of us." Rebecca's voice cracked. "I need you to know that Aunt Claire loves you. She's not trying to take you away. She's not bad. She's your aunt, and she's my sister, and she's family." Sophie looked at me. "I knew you weren't bad. I always knew." "I know you did, sweetheart, and I'm sorry you got caught in the middle of something you shouldn't have been part of." "Are you and Mom going to be friends again?" Rebecca and I looked at each other. Friends seemed like too simple a word for what we were trying to rebuild. But it was a start. "We're working on it," I said. "We're going to try," Rebecca added. Sophie nodded slowly. "Okay, that's good." She paused. "Can I still come visit you sometimes? Just us?" "Of course," I said at the same time Rebecca said, "Yes." We looked at each other again. A small moment of agreement, of unity. It wasn't much, but it was something. After dinner, after Sophie went to bed, Rebecca and I stood in her driveway. The air was cold, November settling into winter. "Thank you," Rebecca said, "for deleting the recording, for giving me a chance to fix this. Don't make me regret it." "I won't, I promise." I believed her, or at least I wanted to. As I drove home through dark suburban streets, I thought about family, about blood and promises, and the lies we tell ourselves about the people we're supposed to love unconditionally. Rebecca and I weren't fixed. We were barely functional. But we were talking, and that was more than we'd done in years. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was all family really was. People who hurt each other and forgave each other and tried, every day, to be a little bit better. Or maybe I was just tired of fighting, tired of being alone, tired of pretending I didn't need my sister just because she'd hurt me. Either way, I'd made my choice. I'd chosen Sophie. And in choosing Sophie, I'd chosen to keep trying with Rebecca, no matter how hard it was. Because family wasn't blood, it wasn't DNA or shared history. It was the choice to show up, to forgive, to love even when it hurt. And right now, that was the only truth I knew for certain. Epilogue. 6 months later, I sat in a coffee shop across from Rebecca, watching her stir sugar into her latte with the focus of someone who's thinking about something else entirely. "So," I said, "you wanted to talk?" She nodded. "I started seeing someone, a therapist, like you suggested." "That's good." "It's hard. She makes me talk about things I don't want to talk about. Childhood stuff, mom stuff, jealousy stuff." "Is it helping?" Rebecca looked up, and for the first time in years, I saw something like peace in her eyes. "Yeah," she said. "I think it is." We weren't perfect. We still had bad days. But we were trying. And sometimes, trying was enough. Sophie was thriving. She came to my house every other weekend, And Rebecca didn't interrogate her afterward, didn't ask loaded questions, or make her choose sides. We still had work to do, probably always would, but we were family. Messy, complicated, broken family. And we were learning, slowly, to be honest with each other. Starting with the truth that family isn't perfect. It just has to be real.